Hello everyone, it's Alex. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. So today I have a fun tag video for you guys. This is a tag that was created by Jen Phelps here on YouTube. She just posted this tag this week and I asked you guys if you wanted me to go ahead and film it, and here I am. I'm very excited for this one. This one was fun. I haven't done a tag like this in a long time and I keep looking down because I have everything laid out in alphabetical order. So as you guys can see from the title, we are doing the A to Z makeup tag. Now this is the makeup tag makeup favorite. She did it as her whole entire makeup collection. As you guys know, holy moly, I repeat myself over and over and over. If you don't know, you can go check out my banner, Eyeshadow Enthusiast. Of course I'm doing eyeshadow palettes. So I did eyeshadow palettes A through Z, but I added a twist to really challenge myself on this one. I did not choose any A to Z names of brands. It had to be the actual name of the palette. So I couldn't pick Anastasia for A. It had to be a palette that's the actual name of the palette started with an A. I wanted to challenge myself because I thought it would be a lot more fun instead of
obviously C for color pop.
I wanted to do something a lot more detailed, as far as a lot more challenging, because I have so many eyeshadow palettes. I really wanted to see if I can do this, and sure enough, I have been able to do this. So we're here. I'm just gonna tell you guys obviously which ones I chose A through Z as far as eyeshadow palettes. But first, if you're new to my channel, welcome to the familia. My name is Alejandra. I'm an eyeshadow enthusiast with a dash of Rakuten. If that is something that interests you, subscribe, join us. And now without further ado, let's get on with this tag. So like I mentioned in the intro, this is going to be all eyeshadow palettes. I have a variety of indie brands and mainstream palettes. As you guys know, I've mentioned many times, I am an equal opportunity lover. That means I have tried and like to try every type of eyeshadow formula brand out there. I do not discriminate whether it is mainstream, luxury, high-end, indie brand, pigments, whatever the case may be. I have it all. I just don't stick to one genre. I love to be well-rounded in all eyeshadow palettes, all eyeshadow formulas in general. So you're gonna see that throughout here. I will mention that there was one letter, you guys, one letter I do not have a palette of that starts with that letter, which now has me hunting because I want to fill that void just because I'm that type of person. I have been able to find multiple palettes for each letter, but one, and I have a ton. I have hundreds of eyeshadow palettes, and I couldn't find one. If any of you guys, when I get to that letter, have something, please let me know. I forgot to mention, obviously, this is all favorites. So every palette that I'm sharing with you guys today is a favorite. I didn't just choose them because they started with that letter. If they're in my collection at this point in time, it's because they are a favorite and I still love them. So it's not like I'm just choosing it because I have it. I chose it because I have it and still love it. So let's start with the letter A, shall we? For the letter A, I have the Anastasia Amrezy palette, but not the new one, the OG one. I didn't feel the need to buy the new one because I have the OG one and I do love this one. I genuinely love it. I recently used it. It's still perfectly fine on my eyes. No reaction. Formula is still fine for me. These were in the 30s, you guys. When she first started out her palettes, this was about $32 and they bumped up now to like $49. So, and this quality I feel like is a lot better than the new ones. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I feel like this quality is a lot better than the new ones. So for the letter A, I'm choosing the Amrezy palette. For the letter B, we have the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. This was in my Shop My Stash last month and I just love the formula of this. Love the color story. I love that this is a nice versatile palette. Cool tones, warm tones, mattes, shimmers, brights, neutrals, you got it. And it's a nice palette overall. So for the letter B, it's a Born to Run. C, we had quite a few of these. This is the Menagerie Courtship palette. So this is a 6-pan palette and I love that about it because it's just 6 pans. You're getting 4 mattes and 2 shimmers, and the shimmers in here are to die for. Even the mattes, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Such a beautiful formula in here, and I can use this all year round because it's not so warm or in my face that I don't mind using this all year round. And it's a perfect one. Isn't it cute? I love their artwork. So this is for the letter C. For letter D is one that I'm currently having in my Shop My Stash, and that is the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. Before my my whole Shop My Stash, I had not used this once, and you guys, I have fallen head over ears for this palette. I knew I was gonna love it because of the color story. I just didn't expect to like it as much as I do. I love this one. It's been really hard to not gravitate towards these. I haven't really dabbled too much into the shimmers. I've mainly concentrated on the mattes in here just to see how they are, because I already know I'm gonna fall in love with the shimmers. I already know it. But this is such a beautiful palette. So for letter D, this is definitely it. Again, I had many of them that I could choose, but this one just jumped in my brain because it's one that I've been using and loving recently. The letter E, we have the Urban Decay OG Electric palette. This is something that I will always cherish and love. It still works well for me. It's a pressed pigment, so it's a little bit of a learning curve, but for me, it's nothing new because I started out with pigments. Loose pigments were the first thing I ever purchased to slap on my eyeballs, and I love them ever since. So this is beautiful. I love this palette. I have heard that the new one is nowhere near this one, so I'm glad I kept it, and it's in good condition, still using it, and it works great. Letter F, I'll give you guys one guess. Come on, scream it out loud so I can hear ya. The Pharaoh palette by Menagerie Cosmetics, you guys. Okay, I'm just gonna show it to you guys and not say anything because I think I've beat the crap out of this palette in all of its praises. Letter F, here you go. For G, Good Sport. This one jumped into my brain super fast. This is such a beautiful palette. And I would love like a shirt in this print. Both the pink and the orange together. I would love a shirt that color. Like this whole entire print, I want it in like this. I would so rock that. It's a beautiful palette. Letter G definitely goes to Good Sport. It's one of my favorites. Unfortunately, it has been discontinued. Don't understand why brands do this. This is such a good palette. I'm hoping most of you did get it when everyone raved about it because it is such a good palette. H, we have the Urban Decay Heat. I'm one of those few people that still love this palette. I just like this palette. It's just the warmness, the brightness. I know it's a very monochromatic palette. I get it. But for me, this is perfect for right now. I don't need too much. I just get a nice variation. I can bring in other things. I don't care. Like for me, that's okay. But to have a palette with these tones, I love it because I can pull them out and use them in different ways. And this is not as bronzy as the new Natasha Denona one is. So this is actually different because I actually considered this one when I was wondering if I should get the bronze one. So this is for the letter H. I. So I gave me a little bit of trouble. Not I myself, but I, the letter I. You know what I'm talking about. But I had this in my Shop My Stash this month again. So it was perfect because I've been using it and I really like this. This is the Dose of Colors I Love Sarah E palette. Now this is only 6 eyeshadows, but Dose of Colors eyeshadows are so good. This looks like I barely touched it, you guys, and I've used this so many times. The mattes have barely any powder kick up and they are so saturated and pigmented, and we've been having heat waves like crazy. Our heat is a little bit different than like Arizona's heat, certain parts of Texas heat, where you're getting a dry heat and you still can go out there, but it's like a heat that burns your skin. The heat that we get here is drenching. It's like this dense fog and you can barely breathe because the air feels so heavy. And as soon as you walk outside, within 5 minutes, you are drenched in sweat. It looks like somebody dropped a pail of water on you. And I'm not even exaggerating. Hence the reason why my hair is like this, because I don't even bother. So I put this to the test in those days, and let me tell you, it lasted like nothing. I was shocked at this one right here. It was just as rich on my eyes. Same thing with this. I've tried these. The only two I haven't played around with this, but for the eye, for the letter I, this is the one that I would choose, and I've just fallen in love with it. And the names of this is so cute. For J, my favorite color ever. This is the Give Me Glow Juicy Olive palette. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? My favorite color, I have been saying it since I started my channel. I have loved the color green since I could remember. I have a story when I was a kid. I was probably like 3 years old when I was allowed to pick a plastic chair, and they came in the colorful chairs, those old 80s chairs with the little like mesh at the back. Not mesh, it was all plastic, but it had like that lattice type of design on the back. I guess that's how you say it. I don't know. ESL's kicking in. But I remember I was allowed to choose my own color. My sister chose red. My other one chose another girly color. And here I am picking green. Green has always been my favorite color. I've never denied it. I've always raved about it. And this palette is just it. For the letter K is by Silhouette Boutiques. This is the Caramel palette. Perfect. Look at this. These shades right here are like to die for right now. Oh my gosh, the pigmentation, this is amazing. I personally prefer this palette in the fall winter time, but right now I can pull out like these 3 shades and it would just like in your face. I love this one. This is a really good quality palette. You're getting a good quality palette with this one. And the mattes blend and are super soft, and they are really, really nice. I don't have much of this color story in my collection, and that's why I find this very unique, because I don't have much of this and I really like it. So K goes to Caramel palettes. For the letter L, we're going with Miras Cosmetics Lemonade palette. So here it is right here. The reason why I chose this one is because of the variety of yellows that I have in here that gives me enough of a variety of looks versus monochromatic yellow. You're getting the deeper shades, you're getting the undertones that are a lot different. Some of these are more white based, some of these are a lot more darker based. You're getting this one that's a duochrome type of yellow shift, bronzy, this mustardy yellow that is so pretty on the eye. Reminds me of the Juicy Olive palette. Like this would be perfect with the Juicy Olive palette. Put those two suckers together on my eyeballs and I would love it. So this is for the letter L. For the letter M, I chose, and this one was hard because I had a ton too. This is the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette. I just like this one, and after putting this in my pan, those eyeshadows, and hitting pan on this one, I realized how much more I love this formula. This is really a good one. Tarte, why do you always screw it over and keep the crappy ones and get rid of the good ones? This was a good palette. Very good palette. So far, anybody that has gotten this palette has agreed with me and has said how good this palette was. So for M, I chose this one because it's a great one. For N for Nancy, this is the Maybelline Nudes of New York. I don't have many drugstore palettes, and to be honest with you, this is the only drugstore palette in this whole entire alphabet. That's how good this is, and for me to say it's that good, it is that good. The color story of this is amazing. The formula is so good. I wish that all drugstore was like this, because then I'd always stick to drugstore and indie brands, but no, not all are created equal. This one is so good. It's worth every penny, you guys. You're getting the cool tones, you're getting the warm tones, you're getting the deeper purple shades, you're getting the neutral shades. It's such a good palette. It really, really is. So when N came around, this is the one I pulled out. Now we're gonna go over here. For the letter O, I chose the Ace Beauté Oceanic palette. The color story of this is, look at this. It would just be so perfect. It's beautiful. You guys, it's beautiful. This color, holy cannoli. Could you imagine putting this all over my lid? Yeah, I think I might do that soon. This is a beautiful palette. It just has greens and blues. What more do you want? This is all I want for greens and blues. I don't need any other palette if I don't care for it. That hunter green, this blue. It's a really good palette. The formula isn't my favorite, but it's workable. I've been able to work with it and be able to use it. For the letter P, this is the Color Rain and the Power collaboration. Now, this one is such a pretty purple palette. It's different undertones of purple in here, and you're getting more like raspberries in here. So you're not getting a monochromatic palette. I love the fact that I have monochromatic palettes and like maybe one or two of that. But then when I do palettes like this, it's a purple palette. It's a very versatile purple palette. So for P, I chose this one. Next one for Q. Can you guys give you one guess what it is? It's the Queen of Hearts. It is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. It is in one of my project pans. Such a beautiful palette. I know some are bored of this. Some think that this has already been and done over with. But you gotta admit, just like the modern renaissance, this put indie brands, it put this kind of color story. It did something to the market. As much as most of us are like sick of it, some of us may not even care for it, some of us may think that the formula isn't that good, I still think it's great. And let me tell you, I have been outside with the kids since 9 a.m. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I took a long walk with them. I was outside for 2 hours, and today it is so hot. I mean, it's hot to the point where I feel my face melting. I have the fan on, I have the air conditioning blowing because it is so hot. And look at this. I have not retouched it. And look at the outer V. Like, it is still so good. So I don't care what people say. I still think this palette is great. I still enjoy it. I still love the color story. For R, we have the Hip Dot Rio palette. Oh, this is so pretty. This reminds me of Rio. Rio, bright, fun, colorful, in your face. You're getting all mattes in here and then 3 glitter shades. What more would you like? Isn't this beautiful? I just like this so much. S. You guys had a long list for S, but I broke it down and took this one in for it. The Summer Vibes. The summer vibes. It is this is the epitome of summer to me. this is summer. There's so many palettes that I have that scream summer to me, and this is like beach summer. If I'm at the beach, this is what I picture. Not just summer in general like other palettes, but this screams to me beach. Beach umbrella, bathing suits, suntan lotion, that sand between your toes. You got that nice drink, your little summer hat. Like, can you guys picture it? Because that's what I picture when I see this. Tea, we have Nomad Cosmetics Tokyo Harajuku palette. Isn't this the cutest thing ever? I reviewed this last year, and it so happened that this year this palette blew up. So I was kind of ahead of the game with this one. It's one of my favorite pastel palettes I own, and this formula down here is amazing. I just did a review on the quad that they came out with this type of formula down here. It is just as good. Nomad Cosmetics is a brand that you should look out for. I said it last year, and I was right. This year they're coming out with more. I think they just posted on Instagram that they're going to come out with something to do with this palette. Something smaller that can go with this palette. So I don't know what they have up their sleeve, but I'm so happy I tried them. This is definitely one of my favorites. This was a hard one to find, but I did find something that I really like that's a U. This is by Tarte as well. This is the Unleashed palette. I again reviewed this last year. Oh my gosh, this is such a good formula. This reminds me so much of this one, and I said it in the review. These two are so different from their normal Tarte formula, and they're so much better, and I don't understand why they don't just keep this kind of formula in their whole line. This is a beautiful palette. Another one that I really like, enjoy. Another one that has been in the back of my mind to pull out. I like this one a ton. The letter V. We have Give Me Glow Vintage Rose. This is another palette where a few people slept on it and they tried to get it this year and it's been sold out. This is a beautiful palette. I love that they added this green with this. Like, that's what I like. When palettes are known to be like this, but you can go so many different ways, and I love that they added this, that bright pink. They didn't stick to burgundies and pinks. They went different ways. Like, this is a salmon-y color. I used to have stirrup pants as a kid this color. I know I'm admitting it, and I actually wore it with a very oversized sweater that had this color to it. That's the 80s for you. I was only like 5 or 6, so don't judge me, okay? It wasn't me that picked it. W. Oh, there was a few for W, but this one had to win it. The Weekend Festival. The Weekend Festival. Yep, you guys know. This is another one. I love it. You guys, there's some in here that you're going to hear for years on end. Eventually, you'll see some of them having pan because I love them so much. But yeah, for W, I would choose the Weekend Festival. I'm not even going to go any further with it because I've also beat this one to death, just like my Farrah palette. The next letter is the letter X. And you guys, that's the one that I had a hard time with. I debated on putting this one as my letter X because it has the X here, but it's in collaboration with that TV show. So it's not really the X in there. Just like I have many palettes that are in collaboration with other individuals that have the X, but I don't really, that was too easy for me. So I don't have one that has an X. For the letter Y, I had to choose the Yes Please palette by ColourPop. This one has gotten so dirty. This one looks like I haven't used it, but what I do is I pull out the shadow and use it to not get this dirty. So I grab a magnet and then pull it out. That's why you guys can see kind of like these spots here, because when I pull it in and out, it pops out the actual shade, like the actual formula itself, like it breaks apart a little bit. You know what I mean? Oh, I can't even explain myself. I'm so hot. So anyway, this is what I would choose for Y. And for the letter Z, I debated between two palettes that I have Z's, but this is the one that I'm going to choose. That is the Zion palette, you guys. Zion. I had this in last month's Shop My Stash. Love this one. Oh my goodness, you guys. Such a beautiful palette. I've raved about it in my Shop My Stash, so I'm not going to rave about it now. But yes, for the letter Z, I go with my Zion palette. So there you guys have it. A through Z, you guys. A through Z. I could do A through Z multiple times with how many palettes I own. It's ridiculous. But these are the first ones that popped in my head. These were the first ones that I said, yes, this is what I want to choose for this letter. It was so much fun doing it this way. I had a blast. If you guys are doing this tag, if you film videos or you want to do it on your Instagram, post it. Let me know. Let me know however you want to do it. Of course, I had to do it eyeshadow palette edition, because that's how I roll. That's who I am. That's what my channel's about. Eyeshadows and panning. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will put Miss Jen down in the description box so you guys can check her out. Check out her video, and hopefully more people do this tag, because this was fun to do. This was a lot of fun and very unique and different from most of the tags. So anyway, I'll put more videos right over here for your enjoyment. Until then, bye guys.